Greetings, friends. How are you doing? It's like 90 degrees in Minneapolis today, wherever you are. I just wanted to share, as I'm walking through trauma and walking through my trauma process. This has been more like a video diary, you know. Not a lot of things you want to share over YouTube, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to share into some of the things that have contributed to the trauma that I worked through. So where do I start? Back in 2014, 15-ish, me and my daughter's mom separate. There was a lot of manipulation, and my daughter's mom is white, and a lot of the problem with the manipulation was just that there is I'm a black man, right? And I don't have a problem with interracial relationships. I didn't go seek out someone. We were just friends, right? Not that I have to explain that, but in a relationship, if there's lying and, she lies, and then I'm a black man, she's a white woman telling lies, the dynamic is different. And I think she kind of realized that after after she kind of went her way in what I felt like was like immaturity. And so I couldn't feed into what I felt like was a scenario she created, and I felt like it wasn't really safe for me. Not that I was afraid of anybody, but it's not my job as a black man to try to go clean up necessarily what a white woman, the mess a white woman made for me. That's not, just be honest. Anyway, so the relationship had a lot of mental and what I would call mental abuse and manipulation, very much so. And the relationship to me was so toxic that I would rather just go try my chances at the world than stay with this person, enough that I was like, I need to leave. I can't be in this relationship. You're not changing. Sad to say. And so off and on for years, it meant that financially I was taking a huge loss. It meant that emotionally I got to heal from a lot of the things that I've endured in that relationship and even before. And intellectually, I got an opportunity to find out who I was and who I was in Christ, And so subsequently, life wasn't as stable, before we owned our home, and now I don't have that. I don't have that same stability. So I was homeless. And so the problem with how homelessness started was I was living with my mom, and I, go to work, got a job, come home, the place is furnished, and bills are paid, and I'm putting food on the table, doing what a man would do. I was just a husband for 2 years. I'm doing everything a man should do, and my mom was dealing with her own emotional battles and strongholds, and so it was a problem. And so long story short, gloss over a lot, I was end up just overnight homeless. Prior, I was able to have my daughter, and have my daughter whenever I wanted, see her, hang out with my daughter, be a dad to my daughter. But now I'm homeless, and I'm living in a truck, sleeping in a truck, and it's February, it's winter. And during that process is when I just first learned that there was some heart scenarios going on, but I didn't necessarily have the support. I didn't necessarily have the support or the hospital. The doctors didn't really know what was going on. Clinics and everything. I thought I was allergic to meat because when I would eat certain foods, my heart would get really sporadic, and it'd be scary. It would happen for 5 minutes. Heart is beating uncontrollably, and then would go away. And the hospital, no one could actually know what was going on. And that was about the time that I was living at my mom's house. And again, I'm doing everything as a man that I know to do. And one day I show back up, and the doors are locked, and all the furniture I bought, all the food that I done filled in the fridge. I mean, I'm cooking and cleaning, and I'm running it like it's my ship, right? And I come back home, and the door's locked. All my furniture, all my food, All my clothes, everything is behind these doors, and my mom is the type to just cast you to the wolves. It's February in Minnesota, and I think it was like a 30-degree day or a horrible dark day. Super cold day in Minnesota, so I gotta go sleep in my car. I gotta sleep in my truck. I gotta navigate, you know, now being a dad. So I remember that night driving around trying to find somewhere to sleep, and trying to find somewhere to sleep. All my work clothes are in the house, and I'm hungry. And not only that, I don't really know what to eat because certain foods make my heart go crazy. And I remember one night I tried sleeping in a hospital parking lot. I was like, in case something happens to my heart, I could stay there, and I could just wake up and run in. It's kind of warm down here, but there was so much traffic, and I didn't know about vents, and I was sleepy and tired from this long week at work. And so I'm like, I didn't know if it was safe, and so I would end up parking on the streets, sleeping in my back seat, and eventually led to me, like, I would pick up my daughter. I would take my check. I remember I'd get paid like Friday, and I worked a fireman shift, so I was working longer shifts to have more days off. And I would rush from like Minnetonka, Minnesota to South Minneapolis to get my daughter out of school, and I couldn't put gas in my truck because I needed all the money I possibly could to get to the hotel, pay for the hotel, and pay for it for like 4 days. So it'd be me and my daughter for 4 days out of some hotel, motel, something. And I needed all the money I could to buy food for her, gas for the truck, and then whatever was left over is what I needed to survive on for 2 weeks while doing a fireman shift at work. And it went on like that. And I remember a few times, my account was overdrafted. So now I gotta rush, get her. Why is my account? Oh, well, we paid this, but we didn't pay this. Can you reverse those fees? And now I got X amount of time to get off work, to go to the bank, to get it reversed, so that my check is not like, so it's, whatever. It's not $200 that I need for food in a hotel, and it's like $800 or whatever. And so, anyways, just day after day after day, after doing that for so long, I just developed the anxiety of picking my daughter up. And even to this day, sometimes it's not easy because I'm like, all this worry of like, oh, I gotta get her, and I gotta be this dad, and I gotta be there for her, and when I'm with her, be present. And it went on for months. I remember it went from cold to hot, back to cold. As far as seasons, I remember it being winter, spring, summer, fall, getting right back to go into winter, and me being like, and it's very hard to find an apartment in that scenario. It's very hard, and week after week, or month after month of your whole check. And then this is the thing, I knew in like maybe a few days or maybe even a week before I picked her up, I was not going to be eating. Plus I'm sleeping in this truck, and then half the time I'm paranoid, afraid that somebody was going to like come find me in this truck, or my truck was going to get towed. I didn't have any insurance because I needed that for food, And so just afraid, like somebody's going to find me, you can't be here, somebody's going to tow it. I was going to show up to work late. What if my truck don't run? Then I'm and I'm late at work, right? So it's like, if you're late, one more strike, you're fired. And I'm like, then what? I ain't got a job. I ain't got no type of hope to find an apartment. And so I just wanted to share that story. Eventually, how did it end? How did I get out of that scenario? Time and time after again, apartments just wouldn't work out. I don't even want to say wouldn't work out. There's times that they were like, oh, I put a down payment in. Oh yeah, we filled the apartment, and it was kind of shisty. A few times I had a place literally go, I'm like, I know I'm on time, I got the money, I'm here, like, what's the problem? Well, why don't you understand? Why don't you understand what's happening? And at the end of the day, a lot of times the only option I get is that I'm black. The only reason, if you don't give me one, is because I'm black. I remember one time I had the money. I asked the lady, I quoted the price. I was like, okay, you need, I don't know, $800 as a down payment. She's like, yes. And I just clarified it multiple times. $800 and the first month's rent altogether is gonna be like 1,700 or whatever. And I don't know how I had the money, but I was able to put it together. And I get there and the lady's like, oh, it's yeah, it's like 1,200. And I was like, what? She's like, yes, 1,200 plus a down. I was like, no, you quoted me 800, and it was like her fault. I asked you like 3 times, and that was like, oh, it was so discouraging. I'm like, Jesus, I done been through this like 7 times. And so one day, I'm almost hopeless. You go through this for like 9 months straight. And I'm like hopeless, broken, and I'm like, Jesus, like, what happened? Like, I don't even want to look anymore because I don't even know how I'm gonna get the money again. And yeah. It's hard to save money when you're homeless. Hard to save money when you're sleeping in a truck. It is. During that process, though, again, food. Like, if you don't have a refrigerator to eat, you got a vegetarian food. Ain't inexpensive. People be like, well, what do you drink water and eat lettuce? Like, yeah, your body don't work like that. Okay. And then half the time it'd be the people that's drinking Mountain Dew and cigarettes and whatever. And you should just eat lettuce. Okay, there's a couple things I could call you, but don't tell me what I should do. So there was one night I was like, God, I don't know what to do. And I had a couple showings, like a couple places to go look at. And I didn't even want to go because I'm like, how many times I've been denied, or how many times have they flipped the script, or how many times did they treat me weird, and flaky. And I just wanted to get an apartment near my daughter. That's all I cared about. Near my daughter, so I could be a dad and get her to school and then go to work and just get my job, do my job and not be homeless. And I would sleep on the floor. I'd be sleeping on the carpet if I had to, just so I can be with my daughter. And so one night I went to sleep and I had a dream, and God showed me an apartment. And I'm just in the showing, and it's like a couple other people there, and the person in the showing kind of didn't listen to anybody. They just listened to me. And in the dream I could hear, I felt like it was God asking me, like, well, what color do you want the walls, and what do you want the floor, and where do you want the bathroom? And in the dream I'm saying it, and those things are like happening. Like, here's a kitchen with an island and a butcher block top, and a dishwasher, and in the bathroom and a master bathroom. And I was like, oh wow, and I woke up excited, like, wow. And I woke up excited, and then at the same time forgot about the dream. And then I was like, oh yeah, I got a couple showings today, but whatever, I don't want to go see him, and I felt the Holy Spirit go. And I'm like, go to both of them. And I go to the first one, and what's cool is the first one was on the other side of the street my brother lives on. And I was like, cool, he'll be right there, we can hang out. I've been home, me and my brother have been like highly mobile since we were like 12, like in 2 different places, and we haven't lived in the same place for a while. And I was like, cool, I'll be able to hang out with him, see him more. And that like 13-year-old heart is like, I always felt guilty because the scenario either I had to make a choice and go somewhere else and couldn't be with my brother, but we haven't been a family for years. And I'm the first place, oh cool, and I'm going, and it's not really that nice, and but I'm like, all right, I can make this work. And they're like, yeah, it's not open for like another month. And I'm like, okay, I could make that work too. That means I gotta be homeless for another month, but okay, I could do that. And so I'm like trying to see how soon do I gotta? They're like, well, we'll let you know. What do you mean? Well, we'll let you know if we want to. I'm like, you let me put an application in. What do you? I got the cash right here, bro. Like, what do you mean? Well, we'll let you know. So it'd be that in Minneapolis, apartment scenario is so picky and choosy. They really want people. I'm gonna be honest. Like, coming from where I'm coming from, they don't want us. Like, that's how I feel, And so moving forward, I ain't gonna go into that too much, but that's really the only option they give you. The only answer they give you at the end of the day is like, well, not you, somebody else. And so, wasn't nothing different than what I already seen. And so I go to the next apartment showing, and the apartment is beautiful. It's like it's like a it's like a it's like condos, you know, and they got a swimming pool and like a garden every area, and it's like, oh, you know, like it's a private entrance and all this other stuff. And I'm like, this is beautiful, you know. I ain't got the credit for this. Being homeless will tax that credit. I guarantee you that. I ain't got the credit for this. I ain't got the. And the lady's like talking to me, and I'm like, yeah, this is not. And so I'm like, it's beautiful. This is such a beautiful place. And she's like, yeah. And so I'm getting ready to leave, you know, and I'm in my truck, and I asked the lady how much, and it's cheaper than the other place. I'm like, okay, that's not bad. And I'm like, how soon? She's like, if you can get it in to me in a couple days, like we can have it. I ain't had the money in a couple days. And so I just remember waiting, and then when I got the money, asked her, and she's like, no, somebody else reserved it. And so I'm like, oh dang. But I remember this. I remember in my car being like, man, Jesus, that place is nice. And I remember the dream I had looked exactly like this apartment, like minus carpet maybe, but it was like the exact layout. And I was like, oh. And the Lord was like, that's the apartment I have for you. It's gonna be better than you ever thought possible. And you might be walking through an ugly scenario, but if the Lord's promise is better than you ever thought possible, I guarantee you it. And so somebody, you know, puts a down payment on it, you know, probably like some couple that got money, two incomes. Somebody works as a nurse, the other person works at a tech company or something doing IT. Who knows? I don't know. It ain't me. It ain't your homie Grizzly Green sleeping in his truck. It ain't worrying about his heart trying to be a vegetarian, you know, like it ain't me. And then one day she calls me back and she's like, yeah, if you can get it here by this time, you know, that fell through, they didn't take it or whatever. And I'm like, okay. I'm competing with white folks that got money. I'm just a Northsider from Tangletown, you know. And so I don't know how I had the money. It was like my actual full check, and then like the $600 I had stashed away, and I just gave it to her. And I think it meant that I was like, and yeah, no, I gave her all the money, and then I had to, like, to eat, I had to overdraft my account. Like, that's how it was. I had to overdraft my account, and like it went through, you know, the money, and they gave me the keys, and I'm like standing in this apartment like, wait, I'm not homeless no more. I'm not homeless. And so like, just like man, it was a blessing. And I remember getting bridging where they give you free furniture, and I remember moving all of it by myself with me and my daughter, like truck filled with furniture, and my daughter sitting in like the back seat underneath like a coffee table on my phone playing, like, you know, watching Peppa Pig or something as I'm moving stuff back and forth from the truck. And I moved into this place, and yeah. Anyway, so the anxiety of picking my daughter up has always been there. Sometimes these things just pile, and if you don't resolve it and address it, it just stays there collecting dust. Sometimes it grows, you know. So I just wanted to share that. Like, if there's there's a testimony in it, there's a promise of God. I'm saying that to myself right now. It's like there's a promise from God of me going through this process in you. And the season you're going through is intentional. You know, maybe you made mistakes. Maybe you made mistakes out of trauma. Maybe, you know, maybe you didn't have a choice, you know. And I remember this. Chance the Rapper said, he said, none of my niggas ain't had no dad. None of my niggas ain't had no choice. Sometimes it feels bad. I don't know if this is correct or God or biblical, but sometimes it feels like the worst choice in front of you is the only choice you have. And there's a scripture that says something to the effect of, God, please don't let me be like destitute, so I don't have to steal from bread and like break your law. And there's times I've done things out of homelessness. I remember eating out of trash cans. I'm not proud of that. I remember the day after I dropped my daughter off, that night I had to go eat food out of a trash can. You know, it is what it is. And I remember sleeping on people's couches, like broken and lost, you know. And so, but God will see you through it, that dark, hard place. I remember eating pizza out of a trash can with tears in my eyes, because I just didn't know. Heart, money, lost. Oh man, feel like you just a castaway. But God's eyes are on you. God's eyes are on you. Jeremiah, anyways, Jeremiah, yeah, I'll save that scripture for later. But I just wanted to share with you. If you made it this far, God bless you. You know, leave a like, thumbs up, something. But God bless you, friend.